This is Football at 4.
Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, whatever the sport, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, Mike Gill in the Sports Bash. Adam Caplan is here, everybody, from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. And on their YouTube channel, just search Inside the Birds. Well, free agency gets underway on Monday. We'll take a look at that and what the Eagles' blueprint might look like and what they did a year ago to get this thing all kicked off. Are we going to see a meh type of free agency, or are we going to see a free agency that will get people excited? Let's bring in Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast to talk a little bit more about it. Right now on the Sports Bash, Football at 4 is here. Adam Caplan, what's up, my man? How are you?
Mike, good to talk to you. Yeah, look, it's going to be a fun week. We will put our annual list of players we've heard the Eagles have varying levels of interest in on our Monday morning show at 6 a.m. Eastern on YouTube and every podcasting platform. This is when we put the Byron Jones news out, and what we just to let people know, we never said they were signing him. We don't do that. We never make any predictions because the clubs don't know. They know they have interest in, and they know what they want to offer, but it's up to the player. In fact, the Eagles wanted Byron Jones so much that they made a stronger offer than the Raiders did, and that he wound up signing with the Dolphins. But there are only 3 teams in it in the end. He eliminated everyone else. But it just comes down to what the player wants sometimes. So in the end, Mike, this is going to be a fun week. Moshe and I have been reporting that the GM's going to try to be aggressive. We say try. Last year, and we're going to go over that list, boy, it was the lightest. I'd have to go back and research this, but off the top of my head, Mike, now I understand free agencies also, and clubs will tell you this, it includes extensions and re-signings, but in terms of signing free agents from other teams, Mike, it was the quietest I could ever remember.
Yeah, the year before, I mean, this is interesting, Adam. They had lost to Tampa Bay in the wild card round. They got beat up pretty good. Then they went out and got Reddick and made the trade for A.J. Brown and really kind of saw it. Hey, we're missing a lot. I mean, do you anticipate that they follow a similar blueprint after getting beat up in the wild card game?
Well, one of the things, Mike, that I think they learned the hard way is the back end of their defense was so bad. They just couldn't compete, and that can't happen. And depth is never about quantity; it's about quality, and it's just got to be better, Mike. That'll be addressed. Look, they have draft picks. You know, the comp picks are coming out today. They've added their comp picks. They got their own picks. Who knows? They might be getting some other picks. We'll see what happens, Mike. But they've got to improve, particularly on defense. They just don't have enough talent there. But to give you an idea, Mike, I want to start here what they did last year. Now, part of their cash, and it's all about cash. It's less about cap. It's about cash. Extended Hurts' contract. They kind of hinted on that. They were not going to be super active in free agency. They also extended Lane Johnson's contract. They re-signed Kelsey. They re-signed Boston Scott, less money. Re-signed Brandon Graham. Re-signed James Bradbury. Re-signed Darius Slay. Re-signed Fletcher Cox. Because they were going for the Super Bowl again, they figured, hey, why not run it back with those 6 players, take care of Hurts and Johnson. They wound up making 2 trades. DeAndre Swift, which was, I'd call that a double or a triple, not a home run because he didn't catch the ball enough, but that was a good trade, right? And those picks are not until 2025. The trade for Albert Okwuegbunam, that was done right at the start of the season, so that didn't work, but they're bringing him back. They re-signed him. But in terms of the players, Mike, that they signed from other teams, let's call it like it was. I mean, it was pretty much a disaster. Howie Roseman, the GM's generally one of the better at free agency, usually really good at it. I know it's an economical free agency. They made a decision they were not going to sign a lot of players for a lot of money. But if you look at the quality of the players they signed and what wound up happening, it didn't work. Marcus Mariota, he struggled in training camp, Mike. Thankfully for the Eagles, Hurts didn't get hurt. Rashad Penny didn't work at all. He got benched. Coach didn't trust him. Olamide Zaccheaus, he looked fine. They didn't use him. That was a coaching problem. Julio Jones looked like he's on his last legs. Did a little bit, but he's more of a number 4, number 5 NFL receiver at this point. Dan Arnold got cut. Dennis Kelly got cut. Fred Johnson is their top backup tackle. That was a good move. He's still with the football team. They like him. Josh Andrews, after an 8-year absence from the Eagles, got cut. Kentavious Street got traded after being signed. He got traded before the trade deadline. Nick Morrow had mild success. Zach Cunningham did well. Miles Jack didn't do well. He was going to be cut if he didn't retire. He unretired, went to the Steelers, but that was a miss. Greedy Williams was a miss. Not only was he a miss, Mike, he never got signed by another team, Greedy Williams. Isaiah Rodgers signed while he's suspended. He still has not been reinstated, but the Eagles are hopeful that he'll contribute. Bradley Roby, decent player for them. Did get hurt, but contributed. Justin Evans, well, Mike, he got hurt again. And Terrell Edmonds struggled. He got traded. So hearing me talk about all this, would you not say this is a struggle for the Eagles in free agency last year?
Well, I would, and it looks like, the theme of this was trying to find guys that were, injury prone, but maybe had a year left to give, like the Justin Evans and the Terrell Edmonds out there, and just finding guys that maybe had talent, Greedy Williams, Miles Jack, and he ends up retiring. Like, they tried to find guys. It sounds like because of the restraints they had because of the Hurts deal, that they had to kind of go down the road of just hoping that these guys worked out. They don't, but are they in a similar situation this time around?
Well, I would say, I put it like this. They know their defense has a lot of holes. They have, there were 5 changes last year, Mike. We might see 5 or 6 this year. So let's get into that, right? Let's get into kind of where they're at. And by the way, the best signing, because this is kind of comical, was Braden Mann, the punter. Let's call it like it is. He was the best free agent signing that was from another team, and he actually got signed to the practice squad first. They actually offered him a total 2-year deal. He only accepted 1. Smart move. He did well. They'd like to have him back. But if you really look at it, Mike, and let's get started with offense, and we'll address your question when we get to defense. But if Mariota's up, I'd be shocked if he returned. He's struggled. You never say never. DeAndre Swift, that worked out well. Eagles typically don't walk away from players like that who do well for them. Nothing set in stone, but it would surprise me if they don't try to bring him back. Boston Scott's up, Rashad Penny's up. It didn't work with Penny. Julio Jones, Zacchaeus, Watkins. Jack Driscoll, now he is up, Mike. He is up. Let's see. I know they'd like to have him back, but he should find interest elsewhere. Jack Stoll, he's a restricted free agent. My understanding is they probably will not tender him, but they do have interest in bringing him back. Suapeta's up. Roderick Johnson's up, and as I mentioned, Jack Driscoll, who also could play guard. That's why he has value. I don't see more than 1 or 2 of these guys coming back, Mike. That's kind of where they're at with those offensive players.
Yeah, so a lot of, guys that they, and we just talked about it. Rashad Penny, they figured, okay, here's a guy who had a lot of talent. Let's take a swing there. That didn't work out. Zacchaeus was a guy who played a lot in Atlanta to try to solidify that third wide receiver spot. He didn't end up playing all that much either. So 2 guys on the offensive side. And obviously then that leaves a lot of needs on the offensive side because everybody keeps thinking about defense, the holes they have on defense, but they do have legitimate needs come Monday.
All right. So,
on offense, I should say, too.
Yes. They need 2 running backs, right? They don't have a starter. They have 3 under contract. Kenny Gainwell, we know, is not a starter. Lou Nichols has really not played in the NFL, but they do like him. And Ty Davis-Price, who they gave a decent guarantee to for a 1-year deal. But they don't have a number. They have a number 2 in Gainwell. They don't have a number 3 yet because they don't know about Ty Davis-Price. He just got there, same with Lou Nichols. So they need 2 running backs. They need a number 2 quarterback. It would stun me if Mariota came back. He just didn't look right in training camp. They need a guard/backup center. They need a multi-positional player. That Jack Driscoll could handle the guard thing and back up right tackle if needed. But Driscoll is up. They also need, quite frankly, Mike, they need a number 3, number 4, number 5 receiver. They don't have that right now. The quality of the depth there left, we're talking about Joseph Ngata, who's never played. Guys like Jacob Harris, who's a tight end/receiver. Austin Watkins, I know they're excited about. These guys have not really contributed in the NFL, so they don't have a 3, 4, 5 right now. Tight end depth, folks, it's not about numbers, it's about quality. Albert O didn't contribute. Tungiai's back for his 4th time. E.J. Jenkins, they gave a $20,000 guarantee. Calcaterra really didn't contribute much. And Stoll's a restricted free agent. So it's not that they have 5 guys under contract. They don't have a number 2 tight end. And right now, I don't know if they have a number 3. Calcaterra will be the 3 at best. So they have to get through that, Mike. So you're right, Mike. You're absolutely right. They have some work to do with the depth on offense.
Right, because of the holes that we know they have on defense. So let's take a look at what the defense free agents, who could be back, who could be gone, and then some of the needs on that side of the ball, because you could go to all three levels and you got problems.
Right, so the inside the linebacker / off-the-ball linebacker, Zach Cunningham, Leonard, Nick Morrow, who I mentioned. Sean Bradley only plays on special teams, coming back from a torn Achilles, so he's their property, so they could know where he's at in his rehab from the Achilles, but he would only come back, obviously, as a special teams player. So it leaves them really barren at off-the-ball linebacker. Dean, they want to start. Van Sumeren, who did really well in that game against the Giants, his only NFL start, and Brandon Smith, who's really not played, a former fourth rounder for the Panthers. So they have to sign at least two guys there. At edge rusher, the edge rushers who are up, Mike, right now, they're running a 34 front, and Fangio, you can call these guys what you want. Brandon Graham is technically under contract. He has what I'm told is a placeholder contract. For him, if he does resign for a year, they're going to have to redo his deal. So he's not technically a free agent, but you might as well call him one because he would have to come back with a different deal. But look, they've got Reddick under contract. He still is under contract. We'll see what happens. We're not making any predictions now. Josh Sweat is on the last year of his deal. We'll see what happens there. Nolan Smith, he needs to play a lot more. Teron Jackson has been on and off the roster, and Patrick Johnson, who really only plays special teams. And Julian Aquaro, they gave a nice guarantee to. They like him. And Terrell Lewis was a former third-round pick in 2020 who's got great size, played at Alabama, the Eagles' new favorite school. But they don't have a lot of answers, Mike, for the future. So that's where the draft comes in. When you look at a couple other positions here, let's look at cornerback. Bradley Roby and Maddox was released. They have interest in bringing him back. The Eagles, and we'll talk more about this on Mondays inside the Bird Show, there's some nickel corners we're told they're looking at. Bradley Roby, though, did a decent job, but he's older, and he could play inside or outside. Safety Evans is up. Obviously, he can't come back. There's just no way. But Kevin Byler is released. They've completely closed the door there, but don't put odds on that one coming back. We'll see what happens. Under contract, you still have Slay, Ringo, Joe, McPherson come back from a torn Achilles. Mario Goodrich, Taiwan Mullen is a nickel. Eli Ricks is really an outside corner. Bradbury, for now, is on the football team. So they have some guys they like for depth purposes. Josh Jobe, in particular, Eli Ricks was a really nice surprise as an undrafted free agent. Ringo, at least he showed he could play in this league, but he's a guy you don't want starting in any way, shape, or form. So they still have to look at that position for the future. It's not about now so much as now about the future. Safety, they need two of them, Mike. They can't line up right now at safety because Sidney Brown's hurt, coming back from the ACL. And Reed Blankenship, as we told people 2 years ago, he's best off as your third safety. I think the Eagles have kind of learned that. They need a nickel corner. They don't have one. They need two off-the-ball linebackers. They need two edge rushers for the future. Now, Graham would alleviate one thing for this year, but they just don't have enough depth there. So, Mike, this roster's just not good enough. They have a lot of holes. Let's call it like it is.
Oh, there's a lot as we get into Monday here, and then you got Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. It sounds like Graham more likely to come back than Fletcher Cox. They're both kind of under contract, but they got to redo these deals
100%.
if they decide to play.
Yeah, you won't believe this one. So I'm doing a lot of research. It's crazy. There's no way it could happen. He has Fletcher Cox technically has 2 years left on his deal based on the kind of structure they had to do to make it work. He's got a crazy placeholder salary for several tens of millions of dollars for 2025. It's kind of comical. I'll leave it at that. We'll talk more about this on Monday's show. So, yeah, look, there's a lot of moving parts. The Eagles have a lot of cash to spend. They've got plenty of cap space. It's usually not a problem anyway for the Eagles based on structure. It's all about cash, folks, and their cash spend is going to be there. We'll see what kind of success they have. We'll talk more about this. I know Moshe will talk 4 o'clock on Monday, and I'll talk 4 o'clock on Tuesday. We'll see who they get in the initial phase. And, by the way, once free agency, the doors open on Wednesday, most of the top players are gone. It's kind of comical.
So Monday, when the legal tampering begins at 4 o'clock, when Jeff is here for football at 4, will Howie Roseman have done something of significance?
I would say it'd be a slight surprise by 12 a.m. midnight that if he hasn't done something of significance, but I'm not going to go into what that might be. By the way, the Eagles got the second highest compensatory pick. They got a third. They got the 34th selection. Wow. They got the 97th. I'm sorry, 97th pick. The second pick of the. It's at the end of the third round, of course, but they got the second of the compensatory picks. So they got an extra 3. They got an extra 5, the 170 overall.
They got 2 fifths.
Yeah, 2 fifths. I'm sorry, one back to back, 170, 171. They got 210 overall, a 6th, and that's it. They did well. They did well. Now to give you an idea of how they got them, because now see, as we went over the list of guys that they signed, it's lost versus gain, but it's also the underreported part about this is money. The difference in contracts. Look at the kind of contracts the guys that the Eagles signed such bargain basement players. The players they lost, Andre Dillard signed a big deal, although I can't imagine he'll return to them after he got benched. T.J. Edwards, $6 million a year. Epps, Gardner Johnson, Miles Sanders signed a big deal. Isaac Seumalo signed a big deal, Mike. So that's why they got it's what you lost versus player, and money. How much more money the players got versus the players you signed. So that's why they did so well. Good for them. The Eagles played it well, and they're going to need these picks.
Adam Caplan, Football at 4. You putting any stock in any of this Saquon stuff, or is this just a lot of people bored waiting for the start of free agency?
I'm only going to tell you this, Mike. Let's just say that the Eagles really like Saquon for the 19 draft. That's all I have to say about that. I don't usually comment on the stuff because I don't comment on the internet rumors and so forth. A lot of this is agent-driven, so you have to be extremely careful in reporting this stuff. One of the things I do a really good job is vetting what's real and what's not. Jeff and I don't report about 80% of the information we get. I'm going to leave it at that. That just tells you all you need to know.
Okay, all right. So that one is something that a lot of people are just kind of, I think, connecting because of the amount of money the Eagles have. I don't.
Again, it's cash. It's not cap, folks. Just because you have more cap.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think the Eagles would spend the kind of money on that position. That's why
they haven't historically. Now they did pay Brian Westbrook an extension. In fact, that was a surprise when B. West got that, just because he was near the end of his career, but the Eagles took care of him. And you have to look at Saquon. By the way, it's coming off a disappointing year. It's coming off a down year, and we're going to have. I'll give you something. We're going to talk about this on Monday morning show, but I'm not going to tell you what we're going to say. I'm just going to tell you we're going to address a lot of these rumors. Some are absolute complete nonsense. I'm not saying this one is, by the way, but there are a couple out there that I kind of chuckled, and I asked someone who would know, and I got like, "Are you really asking me this question?" kind of thing. And that's all you need to know.
Well, the craziness starts Monday, and it becomes official on Wednesday. You'll hear it here on Football at 4. And don't forget to check out the Inside the Birds podcast. You can download it on all podcasting platforms and check out the YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds. He's Adam Caplan here on a Friday edition of Football at 4. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.